Why did you like product marketing so much?
Social media marketing didn't really click. Content marketing didn't really click.
What is product marketing? Because I think it's this type of functions that is in a lot of companies, but a lot of people are not sure exactly where does it fit. Should it fit on the product? Should it fit on the marketing? What is the responsibilities of the person running the product marketing?
I think there's probably no teams further apart from each other than marketing and product. I find that we have to pull the marketing team to the product a lot.
When you start building the product marketing function within a company, how do you start? Because it is that hard. You're in the middle almost, and you have on one side product who doesn't always understand what value means. And you have on the other side a marketing team who doesn't really understand what product is doing.
Product marketing should report to the CEO, even at a larger organization, and be its own department with its own KPIs that have to do with the other departments as well. It's still very dependent on internal stakeholders and making sure that they're supported, but it's supporting the entire business. We should be reporting not on marketing KPIs, but business KPIs.
Do you feel that product marketing should sit under marketing or under product?
All right, perfect. So let's go with a new episode of Grow with the Flow. So today we have Ashley Herbert Popa. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope I said your name properly.
Yes, you did.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me.
So quick introduction. So you are a product marketing leader, and you've also been a speaker at a lot of conferences like SaaS or the Product Marketing Alliance. I think you have an interesting background because you studied more or less in a sales version, and then you walk towards the product marketing function. And you work at like really top companies like Sendclound, Tellent, or Virtuagym, which is super nice.
Yeah.
So welcome to the show.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Awesome.
Great.
Let's go.
So the first question that we ask everybody is, what is your origin story? So you can go back as far as you want. And just so people understand a little bit your background and where you come from.
Yeah.
And also, how did you get to where you are? Like, what are the choices you made? Why did you like product marketing so much?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm from Alabama originally, so a very rural state in the U.S. Not many people can point it out on a map. It's not usually a destination people go to, but I come from a town in Huntsville, called Huntsville in Alabama, and born and raised there. Went to University of Alabama, so a big football fan, college football fan. Still watch it just like the next day because it's on at like 2 a.m. here. I moved out to Austin, Texas for a while because I got a degree in marketing, but sales was like the easiest entrance into whatever I wanted to do, and also paid off my student loans as well. Marketing jobs, entry-level marketing jobs weren't doing that so much. So started off in sales. I really loved it. I got to know a lot about how businesses run. I can't say that I loved sales so much, but I think there's like some kind of high you get at the end of the quarter, the end of the year when you're like hitting quota or above that. And it's a pretty addicting feeling, but also can burn you out quite quickly. So after 4 years, I was ready for something different, and I wanted to go to my MBA. Got a chance to do it here in Amsterdam, so moved here. I think that was like 8 or 9 years ago now.
Nice.
Did my MBA, which was very fun. It was like being back in college again, both the good and the bad. So one year of it was plenty for my liver, but also for my brain. I needed to get out. And,
Welcome to Amsterdam.
Yeah. Also my first year in Amsterdam as well. So you're just like exploring all the new stuff. And then, I started off in marketing jobs, but couldn't really figure out what I liked about marketing. There was something there, but social media marketing didn't really click. I tried content marketing, didn't really click. And then I started doing product marketing, but in a non-product marketing role. And then I found it. So I stumbled into it a bit and I was like, hey, this is everything I really enjoy doing all in one job. So I started off at Virtuagym, was their first product marketer.
Nice.
And then got a call from what was Recruity at the time. And I was actually using their software to hire somebody. So I was like, hey, cool. This is really a nice tool to use, which is very fun for a product marketer to work for a cool tool that you really enjoy using.
Yeah. So
I went over there, was a solo PM man for a while, built up a team, and was there for 5 years. So I went through the merger, the acquisitions, everything. And then now I'm at Sendclound. So.
That's a long time to be at 5 years.
Yeah, it was. But it was changing all the time. So I felt like it was always a new company almost. So I was, for a very long time, quite challenged in a good way. I really enjoyed building a team and doing different things. And I would say it was kind of it was a bit sad to leave, but I liked leaving on a good note of it being, kind of sad to leave. So
nice.
Yeah, super happy to be at Sendclound, a great team. Fun company, lots of things to do. I'm 4 months in, and it feels like 4 years at the same time, so in a good way. But yeah.
Nice. So I'm going to ask a non-related business question for Jess, but
Sure.
how was the transition from, like, I would say Alabama, Texas to Amsterdam?
I mean, I say that the biggest culture shock I had was actually moving from Alabama to Texas than it was moving from Texas to, because I lived in Austin. Austin is quite, a lot of people from California, from Denver, from bigger cities live there. So it's quite, they say keep Austin weird. It's very a melting pot of a lot of different people. You meet the strangest people, the best people. But it's very big city-like. But I remember my drive in to Austin for the first time. I made a mistake of coming at 5 o'clock traffic. And I had never seen highways that were like up so high and buildings. I mean, I felt like a little country bumpkin coming in to the big city. But it was pretty eye-opening. So for me, it was a massive transition from Alabama to Austin. And then Austin to Amsterdam, they have kind of similar vibes. So it was pretty,
just on a smaller scale.
It was more the language that was like, oh gosh, than anything. But the culture parts was that was okay to adapt to.
Nice.
Cool.
I think the first question is, let's dive into what is product marketing, because I think it's this type of functions that is in a lot of companies, but a lot of people are not sure exactly where does it fit. Should it fit on the product? Should it fit on the marketing? What is the responsibilities of the person running the product marketing? So what is product marketing for you? What is the role, and why do you think it's important in companies?
Yeah, for me, I think the biggest or most important term within product marketing, what we do is value. So that is understanding our audience enough to know what they value, helping the product team to build things that our customers will value, and then explaining that to them in a way that they understand that value. So it's really, you're doing it in multiple channels and in multiple ways, and sort of translating information to different departments and internal versus external. But for me, it's always, okay, what's the value of what we're doing? And what's the value that they want to see? What's the value they want to get out of the product? And what should we build that will bring them the most value? So for me, value is the big term there.
So you're really, I think, the bridge between, let's say, marketing, so all the customer insights, and the product team. What are the main challenges that you see here? Because obviously, often we see marketing teams and product teams being quite different. Obviously, it depends on the company. Some companies have better communication than others between the teams. So where do you see here the role of product marketing?
I think there's probably no teams further apart from each other than marketing and product. Because I see so many marketing departments that they just have no idea what the product actually does that they're talking about. They're so into creating content and thought leadership that it gets really far away from what we're actually doing and who we're bringing value to. So I find that we have to pull the marketing team to the product a lot. At the same time, product is also like heads down, build stuff, let's go, and then throw it over the fence to marketing. And, why isn't this being adopted? Or why are we driving revenue? Well, because you told me 2 weeks ago that you're launching this thing. Luckily, I don't experience that so much anymore, but definitely in the beginning, especially if you have product teams that aren't used to product marketers, it's very much like, oh yeah, we built that thing. Or they built something and you're like, why did you build it? Who did you build this for? I have no idea who you're trying to target with this feature. Maybe it's cool, but our audience actually is very skeptical of AI. So maybe that shouldn't be the first thing we build. We actually have a lot of bug fixes to go after. So it's obviously pulling the product team closer to maybe not so much the marketing team, but the audience that we're marketing to.
And so especially, I love that value part, because I think that's the essence of where you sit in between. Yeah. Because marketing should show the value through content and these kind of things, and product should build it. Yeah. When you start building the product marketing function within a company, how do you start? Because it is that hard, like you're in the middle almost. And you have on one side product who doesn't always understand what value means. Mm-hmm. And you have on the other side a marketing team who doesn't really understand what product is doing. So if you go to a company and you actually start from scratch, how do you go at that?
I want to always be a trusted person in the organization. So I have to know my shit. I have to be the one talking to customers a lot. I think that's a really great way to build trust within the organization. Hey, I was just talking to customer XYZ yesterday, or I've done a bunch of interviews and here's what I found. So I think talking to customers is not only going to help you in many places within product marketing, and you should always be doing it, not just in the beginning. But that also helps to build trust of, hey, they know what they're talking about. They can bring me insights and know what the customer wants, so I know what to build. And then from the marketing side, this helps you get started with creating those like the positioning and messaging value props, so then they can start doing their work. And how do you fit that with the product and what we're offering? So there's a lot of foundational things that sometimes people feel is like, well, it's not necessary. We're doing well within sales. Do we really need to have another positioning and messaging framework? And maybe you don't right away. Maybe it's not super urgent. But if you can start talking to customers right away, and then also I would just start doing internal interviews. Where are the gaps to fill? Be careful about it, because you might soon become a gap filler. And
where you open Pandora's box.
Yeah. They're like, oh, they can do everything, so let's just ask them to do everything. And as a solo PMM, that's can be. How
do you create that? How do you? I'm trying to find the right word. How do you also protect yourself from not doing everything and say okay, this is my role description. This is what I'm supposed to do. I go here, but not here. How do you manage that? Because I can imagine that also I've seen it from product and from a marketing side. In the product, a lot of times, now somebody's doing that, so I don't need to talk to customers anymore. Or on the marketing side, it's like, I don't need to focus on messaging anymore. Like the product marketer can do all that and can do the value propositions. How do you also make sure that people just do their job still and you not become like the end of the drain and you're just like, here's
the stuff I don't want to do, let's give it to them. It's such a fine line between trying to be helpful and get yourself out there, because I do think that actually is a bit of a superpower. Like, hey, I'm quite T-shaped, I can do a lot of different things and diverse things. That's the nice thing about product marketing. It's also what keeps me interested in it still, is doing lots of different things. But you do have to hold your boundaries. When it's something that I'm afraid that, they're just going to hand off to me, then I try to position it as, let's do it together. I can help you with this part, and then you can run with this part. I think that also goes back to positioning yourself as somebody very knowledgeable about your role, and almost use the ambiguity around product marketing to your advantage by continuing to define product marketing for yourself within the company. So that's all. That might mean that you talk about product marketing to 20 different people every single day and say, this is what we do and this is what we don't do. And maybe you can also steer it towards your preference as well. Like for me, I don't really enjoy writing long form content. I can write a couple things here and there, but then that means that I'm going to probably let's partner, and I can do this part and you do the rest of the copy or the content here, and I'll take care of this side of it. Whereas if it's something else that I really enjoy doing, then maybe I'm a little bit more, let's say, helpful in that area because I'm good at it, I enjoy it, and I can do it quickly. And for that other person, maybe not so much. So it's also kind of defining it as you go and figuring out where your boundaries are and making sure you check in with your manager as well, that these are the priorities of what you should be working on. I think that's always good to do a gut check of, hey, here's my list of 20 things. Here's what I think are the priorities, 1, 2, and 3. And the rest can wait a bit. Is this correct? Yes or no? And then, have them confirm or deny it.
And regarding your manager, who do you report into?
The CMO.
The CMO.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. So I think for me, there's two things that are important as well in the product marketing role, from what I see as well in previous companies. One of them is customer feedback, customer insights. So, the role of gathering all this information. So I would be interested about, your approach to this and how do you know that you actually have relevant information to make decisions?
Yeah.
And the other one I think is based on this information and obviously other teams and other things is to guide a bit the product in, okay, we should develop this feature. Maybe this should be changed, etc. What is the process there to actually get the buy-in as well from, the product team? So kind of a 2-part question.
Yeah. When it comes to helping the product team know what to build, I always want to make sure that we're remembering what our core is, because if you lean too much on customer feedback or feedback from the market, they can everybody has the attention span of a squirrel. So like, oh, that's, and then we need that, and we need that. Or if you talk to a sales rep, for example, their memory is from the last 2 or 3 days. Yeah. So they're not really going to be talking about what's maybe the most important or why we're losing deals. They're going to be talking about why they lost the last like couple of deals. Yeah. So you really have to understand what's our core, what are we trying to do as a company, what's our maybe mission, vision, strategic narrative that we're trying to build on. That's what we should be doing the majority of course, making sure that's still in line with what our audience wants. And then pairing that with customer feedback and market feedback as well. So I've used tools like Canny before, which is like an open roadmap. Customers can comment on it, and you can see what kind of revenue or segments are requesting different features. They can comment on it. They can like or vote or anything like that. And then that's also a nice communication tool for when or if you build it, then they receive specific notifications, communication that's been built. But I like to take that and also what's going on in the market. Why are we losing deals? What kind of tools are our competitors building? And sort of marry all this information with, it's not really a proposal, but like, here's what's going on. Do with it what you want, because it's not my job to say we should build this. I should show you the why and the who we're building for and what's going on. And the product team should decide what to build based on that.
How much time do you spend on spying on competitors' products?
This is a bit tricky at Sendclound because we have 8 different markets we're covering and many segments, so it's about impossible.
A lot of competitors,
it's quite, it's very difficult. So I do try to look at it at least once a month, just have a quick look at our top competitors, especially those that we've lost deals to recently. Before our previous companies, I was maybe in it a bit more often because we had fewer that you could look up. There are several things you can do to kind of hack it. You can, of course, build tools that show you when somebody updates a landing page, or I'm not sure how helpful those are. I'm trying to get a competitor intelligence tool, but
how important are competitors in that sense? Like, I know there's been always some debate around like, should you follow your competitor? Should you not? Should you just focus on your own product? How do you see that?
I do think you should focus on your own product, focus on yourself, especially when we're rolling out a strategic narrative at Sendclound. So I do want to have a bit of blinders on to follow our own story and not chase after competitors, because I do think that we look at them like, hey, they're doing this thing right, but maybe they're not. But
exactly, building a feature doesn't always mean that it's done well.
Exactly. But I do think that it can be helpful to understand what's going on in the market just to level set with the customer. So if we're all calling it, this feature name, then if I call it some random feature name, that's not going to be understood within the audience. So I do think there has to be some kind of alignment with what's going on with other people. Yeah. Also, if you introduce a crazy pricing model, well, then maybe we look really expensive because they have to do all this math in their head to figure out what is the actual cost. And this competitor over here makes it super easy to understand what they're going to be billed every month. So then we're kind of screwing ourselves there. So I think it's important to know what other people are looking at and to kind of have an idea of what's going on, especially if you have a big competitor you're going up against in one market and you need some maybe enablement material for your sales team. But I would spend so much time on it.
Yeah, I guess it depends as well on what stage a company is, right? So if you're a leader or follower, so I'm assuming that if you're a leader, you also have more resources, you're leading the market. So you have a bit more flexibility on, kind of doing a bit what you think is right, and people will follow you. And if you're a follower, maybe it makes sense to look at those more advanced companies to try to understand a little bit what are they doing that's right and can help you out to maybe cut some corners.
That's when I see, like, if you have a massive competitor in the market and you're number 2, these campaigns that are kind of playing on the fact that you're number 2. Yeah. I think the example is like Avis, or I saw one recently about or the easier version of Clay, which I thought was just really, it's so clever. Yeah. So you can really use it to your advantage if there's one clear leader in the market to really understand who they are and figure out your niche. But then at the same time, you're kind of still figuring out your own niche as well. So it's about the competitor, but still about yourself.
Yeah. I think that was a really good example, by the way, because I think positioning wise, you don't have to explain what you do because people know Clay now by association. Yeah. So what do you do? Well, we're like Clay, but easier. I don't know exactly what it was, but something like this. No, we're like Clay.
I honestly cannot remember the tool.
It was like, we're like Clay, but easier or something, or without the technical, whatever. Yeah. But I liked it as like, we don't have to explain what we do. We're like Clay.
Yeah,
exactly. I thought it was a pretty smart way to do it.
It's very smart. I mean, Avis has the best example that they did for a long time. We're not number one, so we're always giving you the best customer service because we're number two. So I think that's a great way to talk about your positioning. It still talks about your value and what you provide as a company. And it kind of makes fun a bit of the situation of being number two.
And people always love the underdog.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're number two, so I'm not going to give so-and-so any more money. I'm going to go for number two and have better customer service. Yeah, it's great.
Nice. How do you see the difference of the role of a product marketer between, I would say, really early stage kind of startups where it's the first time they implement the function versus companies that is way more already, established, the teams are bigger, the structure, are more advanced. How do you see the difference in the role depending on the stage of the company?
Yeah, I think you need different types of people in each one of those. You cannot, one mistake I see is you're starting up, you're hiring your first product marketer, you have, 40, 50 people at your company, and then you want to hire somebody who has ex-Apple in their LinkedIn profile, and that's not going to work. Yeah.
Can you write copy?
Yeah. Sure, I had people for that. Yeah. You need somebody who is a bit of a Swiss Army knife in the beginning, who can jump into a lot of different functions, who has a lot of energy, and is comfortable with maybe a bit of ambiguity of what their role is. And maybe even what the product is if you're still trying to figure out who you're a fit for or what you're trying to build. So I would look for people who have been in similar situations, who like to be in those early stage startups in smaller teams, who have a lot of ownership and control, but sometimes that's also can also be a downside as well. So you need somebody who can manage the craziness of being in a startup. But if you're at a bigger organization, you're going to need somebody who is experienced with leading teams, who can do a lot of stakeholder management because there's a lot of stakeholders involved. You need to get lots of different sign-off. Is good probably with C-level as well because you have this, more of a hierarchy as opposed to an early stage startup with the CEO sits next to you and you figure stuff out together. It's not really the same thing. So, yeah.
How do you, because stakeholder management is such a massive thing, I think, for product marketing. I think also for marketing, like I've had to do it a lot myself because you're always in the middle trying to work with all these different teams. For young product marketers listening, how do you go at that? Because of course, the sign-off processes, the amount of people you talk to gets bigger, the bigger the team gets, the bigger the company gets, but it's still, especially in the beginning when people don't really understand the value of product marketing and you have a CEO who's very involved in product development. How do you go at that? Like, how do you make sure that you build actually for value and not for we have this massive client who brings in 80% of our revenue, but doesn't really serve our product, but we have to sign that deal because it's an enterprise client. So we're going to build for that one client instead for the other percent that is actually more scalable. How do you go at that, really practically?
I think it goes back to positioning yourself as a knowledgeable person within the company. So having your ear close to the customers, especially at early stage startups, I think founders are, from my experience, they want to do what the customer wants. Of course, the nice big deals pull them away sometimes, but I found that they're very in tune with the customers and want to do what's best for the customers. They're not always, let's say, the best business people.
And they shift a lot. That's what I like. Focus is like the next shiny thing, especially also with competitors. Like, but they're building this, so we need to build it as well. Like, it's that dynamic.
Yeah. The number of marketing campaigns I've been sent from other people. Can we do this? Or, hey, I really like what Apple did. Like, well, my budget is pennies, so I cannot do what Apple does. But I think you need to have that trust from the CEO. And I think just within an organization, you need an equal level of bottom up and top down management. So you need to figure out, what am I trying to do? And does this need to come bottom up or top down or a bit of both? So the strategic narrative, for example, that needs to be top down. There's a bit of bottom up as well, just to get people excited and involved, but this is a top down thing. When it comes to, let's say, how we run product launches, like day to day, that's very bottom up. I don't need C-level to approve which framework I use for this. They care really just about the end result. So figure out what it is that you're trying to do, and then is this top down or bottom up? When it comes to chasing the shiny new customer, I think bringing them back down to earth a bit is helpful. So showing them the data of what let's say your customers who are going to stay with you for a long time, maybe that's doing ICP work. This customer is great. They have a nice logo they can put on our website, but they're not our ICP. They're going to churn in the next year, probably because we don't have the product that they need to have, or we're going to be so busy building this custom thing for them that we're not going to have time for the rest of our customers. So where do you want to focus? You cannot have both. Yeah. Are we an enterprise product that white labels things and builds custom things, or are we for a lower segment, more mid-market or SMB? Or so you need to choose, because you're also going to confuse everybody internally, sales team
or externally as well.
So it's you need to pick a lane. It's fine to have these one-offs. If they want to purchase, that's great. But where's our limit of what we're going to customize for them?
Yeah. I do have a lot of respect for the product marketing, because for me, I think it's one of the hardest roles to fill, because you need to find a person, which is, I think, a bit rare, of the person that has a commercial mindset, right? Because you have to deal with the marketing team, the sales team. So you need this commercial approach and understand, from, I would say, more a user point of view, okay, what do you want to do from commercially goals? And on the other hand, you need to be technical enough to understand how to communicate with product. Yeah. You need to I'm not going to say developer, but you need to have some basics to really understand how product works. So I think it's a really weird, it's a rare combination, I think, that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
And you need to love the product.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the most important things, I think. If you don't love it, then you're going to be bored or...
Yes. Yeah. I think loving the product, but also having some kind of connection with the customer base. You should be spending a lot of time with them. I have worked for a company in the past where it was either really difficult because of whatever internal processes to speak to the customer, or they were just so far away from who I was that it's hard to connect a bit. Either like they're either much older or much younger or doing something completely different. So it can be sometimes hard to connect with them and to understand their pain points in order to be able to communicate that. But I actually really enjoy being in the middle of the commercial and the product and the technical. I sort of there's a meme that's I think from Star Trek. I'm probably going to really piss people off because I don't know my Star Wars versus Star Trek, but I think it's Star Trek, and it says it's like a the customer asks, are you best friends? And there's a PM and a PMM, and the PM says no, and the PMM says yes. So it's like I'm forcing them to be my friend a bit. So I do that, I think, often. Like I find my little people in there that I can pull over to my side and connect with. And they're the kind of people that I infiltrate and have them voice out my message as well. But you need to be able to understand where they're coming from a bit. It's awesome.
Do you feel that product marketing should sit under marketing or under product?
Yeah, this is it's such a good question. I think it depends. It's not a very satisfactory answer.
What would you prefer?
To be my own department.
And then report into
the CEO. Under product, I think it makes sense in the early stages when you're trying to figure out who your product is for, because they should be very close to the customer and you're trying to figure this out together. Afterwards, maybe it makes sense to be in the marketing department. I've always felt such a struggle with where we should report to, because
an easy one.
I always find myself managing up in the sense that, okay, great, we have the marketing plan, but I don't just do marketing. So are you also are we taking into the account the workload that we do with customer success or product or with sales? Because none of this is reported in the stuff that we're talking about in marketing. We present our marketing plan. I have to connect with so many different departments to plan out the next quarter.
Yeah.
For the last company, we also had a bit of a struggle where retention wasn't part of what we were looking at when it came to marketing KPIs. And it was like half of our job was how we do retention. So it felt very frustrating for the product marketing team to feel like we were making an impact, because when we had our marketing monthly meetings, it was all about what revenue we're driving, which was part of it. But then, where's the rest of it? It felt a bit like,
focus on revenue and retention, then it's going to be hard to.
So and then with product, then maybe you're talking too much about marketing for it to be relevant for them. So it's always felt like a weird fit.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I always had product marketing under me as a marketeer, but I always was like, no, it doesn't fit. It's I
think it depends as well of the person. Some product marketers rather be in the product team or the marketing team, so depend on this, depend on the company. Because you also want to work, often, sometimes you have maybe the product team works really well and everything's super smooth and it's a great place to work, and the marketing team is a bit more all over the place. So you rather be on the so I think there's a lot of also external factors like this that consider that help you out.
If a product marketeer wants to sit more in a marketing team, in my opinion, they're not a good product marketeer.
Yeah.
If I'm really honest, because you need to really...
I hope you're under the product team right now.
No, not for that. No. But if you don't want to spend time with product, and if you don't want to get into the nitty gritty, you're not a product marketer, you're a content marketer. More towards content, in my opinion, because you need to love that product side. Because a lot of times you see with product marketing people, they move into product management.
Yeah.
Because they love product so much. And I think that's where, if you have somebody who loves to sit just on the marketing team, then I wonder if it's the right position. So I agree with you. I think it should just be its own department.
Yeah.
It should make sense.
Yeah. And I mean, the CMO I'm working for now, I really enjoy working with him. So it's a fit in that sense. At least I have somebody that I enjoy working with, and that is a big advocate for product marketing. So in that sense, it fits and it's fine. But I would love to at some point have as its own department that reports to CEO, because we're working on things like we're building a monetization team where I'm a major stakeholder. So I'm talking a lot about pricing and packaging, which is very company-wide type of strategic thing that we're doing. Strategic narratives, also working closely with C-level to build this and to roll this out. So a lot of stakeholder management and internal buy-in and, filtering this out to the different departments. So it is very company-wide what we're doing right now. And product launches as well, of course, has to do with product, but the way we're going to do product launches will involve, CSMs and CS, sales, everybody. So that's my struggle with it. Maybe my controversial take. I think product marketing should be separate.
Nice. I think it's a good way to move to the next section. So this is a fixed question and answer. So 4 questions, relatively short answers, not rapid fire, but you know what I mean. So the first one is, what's a controversial opinion that you have?
Well, I think that it's that product marketing should report to the CEO, even at a larger organization, and be its own department with its own KPIs that have to do with the other departments as well. You're still very dependent on internal stakeholders and making sure that they're supportive, but it's supporting the entire business. We should be reporting not on marketing KPIs, but business KPIs.
Yeah. Great. What is your biggest fuck up? Obviously, or the one you want to share. I think Joliene put it the right way before, or the one you want to share.
My biggest, I have 2 that come to mind. One is more just on the product marketing function. My first product marketing function, I did a pricing rollout. We increased prices and we had this great story behind it, bundled a bunch of features behind it. And I didn't make double, triple extra sure that some things were going the right way. And I was the person managing the project. And not that it went horribly, but it definitely could have gone a lot better. And that was definitely my fuck up of like, okay, I really need to be on this and not to say not trust people, but there are certain things that you have to pay extra special attention to, especially if customers are getting involved and you're talking about pricing. Yeah. It's very sensitive. So making sure that all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. And my second one is as a manager, I had to have a difficult conversation with somebody that I was managing, and I was so nervous and uncomfortable about having this this situation, this conversation about this person's performance. And I started off with like a compliment and being kind of nice, and then I switched and I started having this very serious negative conversation. And I, to this day, look back and I cringe so hard about doing that. It's just the worst way to approach having a difficult conversation with somebody that you're managing. And man, it was such a big learning for me because I hate conflict. I don't like it. It's very, very uncomfortable, but I will never do that again. That's probably my biggest fuck up, I think.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
The first time you do a performance conversation, you don't want to start that conversation. So, no.
How can I delay this as much as possible? And I don't know, the
and then you have different cultures.
Especially because the first time no one is telling you, okay, you should approach it this way. This is a bit the way to go. It's just like they put you there and you're like, okay, you have to figure it out on the go. So
it was such a struggle. I think at that point, my manager was also out, and I think HR was out. So I really was just out there on an island by myself. How do I do this? Figuring it out as I go. So that was a big learning, but a big fuck up. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good one. So,
of the honesty.
Who do you learn from the most?
I learned from so many different sources. I'm not sure there's just one. Well, I think as a person, I learn a lot from my kids. They humble you so fast. They really also highlight some things maybe you don't like about yourself, or some things that you've criticized about yourself that you really like in them. So that's a big personal learning for me. But I think professionally, I am constantly consuming podcasts and books and videos on LinkedIn. So I learned from everybody like April Dunford, and the Stratton, I think Lenny's podcast. I don't remember his last name off the top of my head. I just know him as Lenny's podcast. That's a big one. We're Not Marketers, David Gerhardt. It's like there's a lot of podcasting content that I consume. Nice. I'm one of those people that when I don't know something or feel a bit uncomfortable in a certain area, I just overdo it to make sure you have any information. Download all the information I can about it. So
nice. We had April and Emma actually on the podcast. Nice super nice to meet them. Yeah. Awesome. And the last one is, what is your favorite tool for 2024?
Favorite tool for 2024? We just downloaded. Sounds like I'm 60. We just purchased a tool called Smaply, I think is what it's called. It's like a customer journey tool. I'm really excited to dive into that. We just did a bunch of buyer persona interviews, very much in line with Buyer Personas, the book by, I think it's Adele. I'm going to get her name wrong. Buyer Personas is the book, and based on the 5 buying ring insights. So it'd be really nice to map those into, what is their journey within the marketing side of things, and then also after they become a customer, how they're using the product. So I'm quite excited to dive into that and figure that out, because we have a lot of data at Sendclound, but I don't think we really use it to our advantage yet. So very excited to put that into use. And I'm also we have Canny as well. I'm trying to push that we have more of an open roadmap for customers. I know it's a bit of a scary thing for product people. So I'm trying to we won't put dates on anything, I promise. We'll just talk about it, because I like the openness of having an open roadmap and having that as a enablement tool, and also to showcase our development skills and how fast we're going. So that's what I'm trying to get us to use more.
It's always a struggle.
Yeah.
Because of accountability.
Yeah. No, we're gonna have to. Well, I think they see it as we have to put dates on everything. It's not. You don't have to. You can make it very open and ambiguous. It can just be next, or we're working on it. It doesn't have
2025.
Yeah.
Cool. Next part. So this next part is always the facepalm and the kudos of the week.
Okay.
So we always start with the guest. So what's your facepalm and your kudos?
Facepalm. I might be a bit late with this, but the criticism of the Jaguar commercials that's all over my LinkedIn. I think they got what they wanted out of it. You see sometimes. I think they got a lot of attention. And that's not always, even if it's negative attention, I don't think that's always a bad thing. You also saw that a bit with, I think it was Canva that did the really cringy.
The dance?
Yeah, dance. And people were trashing it. Now, I see some points where, is this, this is not your audience anymore. Maybe those were good points.
Yeah.
But man, did they get so much attention for it. So I think sometimes to take a bit of a risk and maybe they put more thought into it than what everybody is looking at just at face value from the commercials. But yeah, I think it's a bit too much.
Is it a kudos or a facepalm?
It was facepalm. Yeah.
Okay. And your kudo?
Kudos is Clue is a competitive intelligence tool, and they just put out a 17, 18-minute movie. And it is very funny. It's so funny. It's obviously targeted very much towards me, but I found it hilarious. It's about this sales guy's journey, and he's not listening to the product marketer who has competitive insights, and he's going to lose this deal. And I think they did such a good job on the movie. I'm not quite sure what the exact purpose of it is other than just entertainment. Yeah. But I thought it was such a good job on the movie quality, but they really activated LinkedIn influencers for it as well. It was all over my LinkedIn. So it was just impossible to miss. I thought it was a nice little launch for it as well. I like to look at how people are launching things, but they launch at their compete week, so their event, and then it was all over LinkedIn, and it's actually just a really good little movie if you have 18 minutes.
Nice. Very good. Do you want me to go first?
You go first.
All right. So
I'm still thinking.
The kudo, I think I'm going to give it to us. Let's give it to us. We never did that before, so I'm going to take it for once. Yeah, now, last week we did our first event, so the first B2B growth meetup. So I think it went really well. We had 40.
The kudos to Georgie.
Yes, but I already gave 2 kudos to Georgie in the podcast. So
it's too many.
I was going to say it as well. No, kudos to Georgie for organizing it. He did a great job. And I think it was really good because we had 40 people, really like-minded people. It was super nice event. So we did some general talks about thought leadership. Then we went to a more fun format. Then we did a round table. And I think it was super nice because at the end, everybody had beers and pizza. Everybody stayed 5 hours. So I think it was really good. People really liked it. And we had even Maxime Paulsen, who came all the way from Paris to actually give a talk. So I think that was super nice.
It's great. I lost track of time, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're doing well, right?
Yeah, I did.
And the face palms, I think I'm not going to give the name, but couple of weeks ago with Ferdy, we went to there was a webinar that was, it was hosted in the US. So for us, it was between, I think 9 and 10 PM or 10 and 11 PM, something like this. And it was about the future of SEO. And it was those 2 people organizing it are quite famous, technically super smart. So okay, we're going to get a lot of kind of nuggets out of this. And half an hour in the podcast, they didn't even mention SEO at all. They were just basically selling their tools that they just developed it with no value. And it went to a level that was super low. That was okay, what is your, favorite SEO tool to use? These kind of questions that they had more than 4,000 people in there. And then, you were everybody wanted more depth, I think, on the subject, and they never tackled it at the end. So I think I'm going to give the facepalm to them. I just came up with it.
I always find these hard because we need to do them quite a lot. Yeah. Talks. For me, a facepalm is, I think now that since we started the Growth Syndicate and since I became more a founder than a marketeer, the cold outreach that I've been getting has been horrendous. I'm getting so many basic emails that say nothing about a service that has nothing to do with what I do, what I want, or what I can afford. So I'm not against cold emailing, but man, do a little bit of work on who you're reaching out to, because I'm getting all these weird emails about, do you need developers, or we can help you set up your Stripe account. I'm like, I'm not selling a product. Yeah. Do a little bit of research. So yeah, I think that's for me is I get really annoyed with. I love a cold email if it's written well, but if it's written poorly and then also I'm not the ICP, I'm like,
why?
Yeah, you stole my kudos. Not for ourselves. What I loved about the event, not so much us, but I had for the first time, I went to an event where people were not selling to each other. And I think for me, I missed that. Like an event where people are just nerding out about things that they like and enjoy. And I think especially in growth and in marketing, that's been gone because people are always trying to sell you shit. They go there and they want to sell you a service, or they want to sell you a tool or whatever. They just want to sell you something. So for me, not so much the kudos to ourselves, but I think more to the community, because I just enjoyed nerding out about topics around marketing and having the breakout rooms and just enjoying talking about the passion that we all have, because I have the feeling sometimes we lose a little bit track of that. So that's it's a bit of a shared kudos. But
no, it's good. I think it's a good one. Yeah,
it's more towards. It felt like before COVID for the first time for me, and I was like, yes, I missed this so much. Yeah, so that's it.
Nice,
cool. Last part? Oh no! First we have the
LinkedIn post. So
yes,
we're going to put it on the screen. Magically, Joliene is going to help us out with this one. So you wrote a post about why product marketing and marketing don't mix well. So can you? I think we already talked a bit about it, but can you develop what was the concept here?
Sure. It goes back to what we were talking about of just having different areas of what you're covering. I think marketing it's very much its own department. They, of course, sometimes talk to other different departments, but not necessarily. I see often that they don't really until product marketing starts to get involved and starts pulling them that way. And they have their own KPIs that are very much, like lead gen and how many SRLs or SALs or MQLs or whatever else that we're bringing in. And it's so focused on that, or even maybe thought leadership, where we're talking about very high level things within the industry, it's just very misaligned with what product marketing does. So either from a reporting standpoint, we don't really see ourselves in the marketing showcase, unless it's like a launch where we maybe tie it to revenue or something. But there's a nice LinkedIn post or visual that somebody else created, but we started the project. So we don't really see ourselves there. And we're so involved in other departments that actually marketing tends to be the one we struggle the most with getting so aligned with. Products feels very easy because that's usually who we go after first. We want to get really ingrained in the product and understand it and help them to launch the products, because we're always fighting to be involved earlier and earlier and earlier in the process of creating the roadmap and doing the launch planning for a new feature or product that's being developed. So how do we get in to the trenches more there by just spending a lot of time with them? Sales as well. If you're doing enablement, I need to be close with some salespeople so they start to, let's build a sales deck together. Let's adopt it. How's it going? Your ear to the market is usually your salespeople. Yeah. And then with CSMs and support people, what kind of challenges are people experiencing? What's the onboarding process like? Who are you talking to? Who are the user personas? So you're so involved with other departments and helping to get everybody together that marketing is almost, I need them, like they need me to build, positioning and messaging. And then I need them when we have a launch, but otherwise, not so much are we working together. And also just the fact that, you're the KPIs or the things that marketing is reporting on, it's not fully encapsulating what you're doing. You're doing so much internal stakeholder management and bringing people together and maybe more strategic work that takes longer time to build out, that you just don't see yourself very represented in the marketing department.
It's very interesting that you say this, because I have a completely different experience with this. Yes.
Curious to hear what yours is.
Yeah, so maybe it's also with how I structured my own marketing team. Yeah. So let's get that first. I always felt that getting close to product was the hardest, because they just start to build a lot of the times. And what I experienced with that, I had a hard time getting my product marketeer next to product and bringing, in that case, her in from what are we going to build, instead of here we have the description of what our feature will look like. Will you have a look at the messaging? Yeah. Or will you have a look at how we're going to do the launch? So marketing for me should be responsible for revenue. period.
Yep.
Not for leads, not for MQLs, for revenue, which means if you make it responsible for revenue, it becomes more ingrained in the business, because then you work together with sales and you work together with CS because you're all striving for the same thing.
Yeah.
But I always felt that, maybe because I've been in situations where marketing was revenue driven, that it was easier for product marketing to own a part of it, because revenue is revenue. It can be it doesn't matter where it comes from. It can be retention driven. It can be decreasing churn. Can be focused on driving more pipeline. But I struggled a lot with product being on its own island, and especially, for example, for features that are more female driven. Like we had an HR tool, which is mostly used by women. It's how it is. Yeah. And then you have developers who are East European developers, very much like this, and just built it without really thinking about what's the value? Why are we building this? What's the customer base that it's for? Oh, it's for this one client that is paying us a lot of money, but doesn't really help us scale our product. Yeah. And then being part of that early decision making, I struggle with more with that part, but maybe it's
I think I have seen that as well, but I think it's quite dependent on the leadership. So the last company I worked with, I really enjoyed working with the CPO. I thought the whole product team actually was so great about being close to the customers and understanding what value we're bringing. So it wasn't such a difficult conversation to have with them. So for me, it was just a natural thing to be so close to the product team on that side, because we were very much aligned. It was definitely a partnership. They needed guidance on like how to work with product marketing, because that's still a bit of a black box. Here we have a new CTPO, and he's also very in line with product marketing, being very closely involved. Again, it's still figuring out what that exactly looks like and when to bring us in, but I'd rather be having that conversation than shut the door and no conversation at all. So, and I will say from a leadership standpoint, I see what you're saying as well. I see, marketing leadership is very much looking at revenue. Our CMO is working very closely with our new CRO. So we're getting there, but I see still challenges when it comes to the individual contributors on different teams and how to integrate PMMs with those people. I see that tension, not in a bad way, just it's more like a confusion how to bring people in and what we're supposed to be doing. So I think it can sometimes fester into, or, they work on their own thing and we work on our own thing. It's so easy to get siloed, especially when you're in a larger organization.
Absolutely.
So it's up to the leaders to bring people together. So it's very dependent on leadership if they're on your side in that way, and then trying to show the rest of the ICs how to do it.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I did love the post. I do think it is that you're the spider in the web. Yeah. And not everybody is aware that it's a web.
Yeah.
Cool. Last but not least.
Do you want to do it?
Yeah.
I always do it. So now that Ferry's not here, I just take it.
So we always end our podcast with a rapid fire.
Oh, great.
Just one answer.
Sure.
No explanation.
Okay.
That's it. First one, be founding PMM or part of a bigger PMM team?
Part of a bigger PMM team.
Okay. One word describing the success metric for a PMM function, product marketing function.
Revenue.
One thing that makes a PMM team remarkable.
The people.
One skill each marketer needs to develop in 2025.
How to use AI to save time.
Strategy or execution.
Strategy.
What's your favorite book at the moment?
Ooh, that's a good question. I just read Make It Punchy. That I really enjoyed that. Yeah. I know you had Emma on. Yeah, that was my last really good read.
Nice.
That's
it. So we always give our guests a chance to post something or put something out there. Is there something you would like to share with the audience? Something that's coming up, something you're working on?
I post on LinkedIn a lot about moving from more execution to strategic product marketing. Of course, there's always a mix. You'll never completely get rid of the execution, and you shouldn't. But how do you go from that more, say, feature launch, one-pager creation, sort of tactical work to more positioning, messaging, pricing, and packaging? So follow me on LinkedIn. We're rolling out our new strategic narrative at Sendclound, so I'll also be posting a lot about how we're doing that. It's a little behind the scenes about how that's going. It's my second time doing it. It's such a fun, exhausting, long, wonderful process. So excited to get it out there.
Nice.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for your time, Ashley.
So
Thanks
much.
for having me. Yeah.